Welcome to the Samford Edible Garden Trail. You'll never believe where I am today. We are on a road trip. We are in Mackay. So this is our first plane trip for the Edible Garden Trail. We've flown about an hour north of Brisbane and we've come to Mackay for the weekend to visit a couple of people who have been following the trail. Now the first person we're visiting is Alexis. We're going to meet her in a moment out the back of this property, but I wanted to start the film here at the front of this cafe, and it's called Third Ground. You can probably see it in the background. And she and her partner Phil started this up about 5 years ago. We'll get the exact details when we go around the back. They've started up this cafe with a vision about getting the produce from the local area to people who wanted to eat it. Okay, so they've started with this idea, but actually what we're going to talk to Alexis about is something even bigger than that. And they're calling it the Third Ground Project. And this is all about how they're supporting their local growers or their local small-scale growers in the community. So they're providing this scaffolding for these local growers with the idea that they can build a community of local growers in this area. So we're in a town, if I mentioned, just outside of Mackay, a very small town, and I would love to talk about what she's doing in their community. I think it'll be so interesting. Places like us in Sanford, where we're wanting to support our local growers, what they're doing here is incredible. So let's start the video. So you can see in the middle of nowhere we have this gorgeous cafe. Now we've got Janine filming today. She's our guest videographer, so thank you, Janine. And we just had this beautiful breakfast here and we're going to do a walkthrough. So Janine, if you can capture this. And then I'll walk through and I'll chat with you again when we get to the back of the cafe. Okay, we've come out the back of the cafe. We're going to make our way down the back here. As we go past, you can see there's some infrastructure here. We'll talk about that later, but it's a beautiful meeting space that they've created here and a back area here. And we're going to head all the way down the back there. Let's go, Janine. Alexis, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Thank you for meeting us. We've just done a walkthrough through your beautiful cafe. And we have some questions for you.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, we know you've been following the Samford Edible Garden Trail,
yes.
And one of the things that we are, why we set up the trail was we're wanting to encourage people like myself to grow more food in our own backyards. And we're also wanting to support some of our local growers. Okay, and I guess that's one of the things that really interested me about what you're doing here.
Yes.
And so I'd love to have a chat about what you and your partner Phil, what you've been doing to set up this sort of support structure in your area.
Absolutely. Well, did you want to come have a look around at the beginning of the garden?
Okay. So where are we here? What's this? I know we had the cafe in the front, and then we've got a house here, and then some gardens behind here.
Right. So as you came through the garden, or came through the cafe, sorry, basically you're kind of moving towards our future plans. So the cafe was the beginning of what we were doing. It started out as an idea to be able to connect people to each other and to good food. So we set that standard in the cafe. We wanted to make sure that the food was beautiful and the coffee was really good. That's what we wanted. We wanted to be able to drink good coffee. So we felt like if we started out with good values and gave people an opportunity to be in a beautiful space, that they would come to that space, and then that would spark their curiosity as to where does this beautiful food come from, and just be able to, see each other and spend time together. So we had a great response from the community when we did start the cafe, but it was sort of the beginning of a bigger project that we wanted to do, which we call the Third Ground Project. So as you came through the cafe, you came into the backyard. The backyard, we put up a couple of demonstration gardens. The ones that you guys saw was the permaculture sort of demonstration. What we're trying to do is start to get people engaging with, okay, well, how do I grow my food? Where does it grow? Who's growing it? And asking themselves those questions. But we want it to be a pleasant experience and not to scare them away and think, oh, I could never do that. So then as you come through the garden, you came past a big shed. And that's where we run our trade days. So every fortnight we run trade days where local growers and producers come and we swap food.
Okay.
And then...
Actually, we didn't show that. If we turn around, because we showed that function area where people work, just let's have a look at this, Janine, so we know what we're talking about. So just in the back here, this is the shed you're speaking about.
That's the shed.
Yeah. Let's have a look. This is important because this is all of the practical kind of things that need to be in place to make something like this happen. Did you put this shed here?
Yes, we put it here.
You did?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So the trade day happens once a fortnight, and basically all of the local producers, they bring their produce here and then we trade it, or we buy from each other, and we've got all sorts of stuff that people bring in. We wanted to create a bar that was fairly low for people, because in our modern day society, people would probably much rather spend the night, spend the morning watching Netflix than, go out and haul all their stuff out. So with the cafe here, they have multiple reasons to come. They get to have a drink, sit down with a friend, and then they can do their trading as well. So when we created this space, we really wanted to create something practical and functional. We used to have it out the front of the cafe, then the back room, and then we kind of went bigger. Yes.
And so are people from the public able to come and buy the produce, or is it just that people are swapping it amongst each other?
Yeah, people drop in and buy this stuff.
And they buy.
What we're looking at though, because I think people are just in this region really disconnected from feeling confident to go and ask somebody where they can buy, if they can buy the food off them or something like that. That's starting to change now. People are getting more confident, and we hope to sort of launch into a bit of a farmer's market to start then encouraging more people from the public to come buy the food.
Okay, so that brings me to the question, is there anything like that here? Has there ever been a farmer's market? Is there a cafe like this, or is this really the first thing that your area has seen like this?
Well, obviously there's cafes and there's farmers markets around, all markets and that sort of thing, but what we're really trying to do is tell the story of provenance, which basically means it's a French word, I think, which means with something from within the local area. So we're really trying to support those values with people to, grow the knowledge around where my food comes from and how is it grown and that sort of thing.
And the people that are coming here, are they people who are in commercial business, or are they home gardeners who have excess produce?
So at the moment, a lot of them are home gardeners, and they have excess produce. A lot of them want to come to connect and share information with each other. And there are some people who have, taken the next steps to take that produce to the next level. And that's kind of what else we're trying to do here, is create frameworks to help support people to, look at that thing that they're growing in abundance and really well and go, oh, how could I actually turn that into something that can make a profit for me?
I noticed that when you came through the cafe that you had up on that wall, it looked like some principles or something like that.
Yeah, so those are some of our values that we use to underpin everything that we do. So when we're making decisions in our group that set this whole idea up, we go, well, how does that reflect our values? So one of the values, for example, is people before profit, which may not make sense to people who are running a business, but we found that it's been so pivotal in that when people feel like they're valued and they're not just another commodity, when they come in and they're asked to sit down and stay for hours if they want to, and they're not like, oh, come on, move on, we need the next person, that resonates with people. And that's sort of a part of the name, Third Ground. We want people to come into this space and feel like it's their space, it's their local community space where they can call their mum up and say, you want to come have a coffee with me, and sit for hours and chat. And I mean, that's what gardens are about, you know, that's what we do on the land, that's what we do in our homes. We grow food, we ask our family to come over, and then we sit down and we share it. And we kind of wanted to take that into the community. And because as I was sort of talking a bit earlier, I think we've lost a lot of those connections in our community because it's so easy to go to the grocery shop. It's like what I said before, it's easy to just sit down and watch something on TV than make the effort to go out. So what we're trying to do is entice people through good food and good coffee to come back out and start rebuilding those connections with each other in the community, and then with how does my food grow. So it's not so much a stick, it's like a nice cup of coffee. It encourages them to come out, and we really believe that once people come together in that environment, then their own creative juices start flowing, their own ideas start happening, and we're not trying to put all the ideas out for them. We're just trying to say, hey, you've got a lot of ideas in your head, you've got a lot of gifts at your fingertips, you know, why don't you just explore it and see what you can do with that? Yeah.
And have you noticed over time that you're getting more people coming to trade here? So you said you had about 20, is that right?
Yeah, it fluctuates between, 10 to 30 people at a time. We've got a core group that's, the faithful followers that keep coming. But we've noticed, particularly since COVID, there's a lot more interest. People come down and pop their head around the corner and go, oh, what's going on down here? And I think a lot of people that have moved out of the city into this region, so they're probably more used to farmers markets and and that kind of idea from down south.
And so they're looking for that.
They're kind of familiar with it, whereas we're not so familiar with it locally.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what we're trying to do is say, hey, we've got a beautiful region, we're growing beautiful produce, why don't we celebrate it and bring it out for everyone to share.
And really build that community around it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think let's make our way this way.
Yep.
I know that we're going into yet another phase or another part of what you're calling your project.
Yes.
So we'll have a wander through here.
Yeah.
As we go by, I might just keep covering the stage anyway. I'm going to ask a few questions because we're all, first of all, these.
Yes.
They're worm farms or compost bins?
Worm farms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you? We haven't come across this yet on the trail. Can you show me the setup?
Well,
I've seen these online actually.
Yeah.
But they're from New Zealand, aren't they?
Yes, they're New Zealand brand. They're basically industrial worm farming. So this is for down the track as we start growing, start using more food in the cafe, and if people are starting to bring more produce to a farmer's market and that sort of thing, we can take those scraps and take that waste and we can compost it and turn it into, compost.
Yes.
That's what worm farms are for. So we actually saw these at the Melbourne Victoria markets, I think it is. And we saw them just chucking tons of stuff in there, like that's what we need for the cafe. So yeah.
And do they work well?
Yeah, well these ones aren't actually working yet.
Okay.
We haven't reached that capacity, but yeah, they work great. They say they're one of the best worm farms out there, and that's
I saw you had a few earlier up there, but further up the garden.
Yeah.
So the idea is that where can you harvest it? So you put it in the top, obviously.
Yeah,
so normally that would be full.
Yes, that's right.
And you've got the worms, and then does any juice come out?
Yeah,
the
tray collects the worm pea as it is, and then you can just take these off the bottom. These clip on here. And it doesn't fall out because that fell out because it's dry, but normally when it's all wet, it stays inside of the cone, and then you just take the worm poo out and then you put it onto your garden. So that one didn't work because it's all dry.
We understand it's not set up properly.
No, that one's not set up.
But the idea is you can keep putting things in the top and then you're harvesting from underneath.
That's right, yes.
Fantastic.
It's a commercial.
To let me know, a commercial style worm farm.
Commercial style.
I like a good worm farm. I have a lot of different variations at home of worm farm. So that's just another type. So you might do a walkthrough here. This looks like another permaculture style garden. Is this what stage is this at? If you
well, this is sort of like right down the track, and we want to start up something called Homesteading School. So it's taking all of these projects that we're working on, you know, the trade day, the farm tours that we do, the growing your garden night, things that we do in the overall project, and condensing it down into sort of like a homesteading school. So that's like an Americanized sort of name, but
yes,
America's nailed the homesteading kind of factor, and they've been doing it for hundreds of years. And I think in Australia, we've taken a lot of our European, you know, sort of ideas and stuff like that, but we haven't kind of taken those next steps to become more of a homesteading country. Maybe down south it's a bit more like that, but here in like regional Queensland, we kind of haven't. We're still in the industrial agriculture sort of phase of things at this stage, and we're sort of trying to help encourage people to move back to the smaller scale farming side thing, and showing them how viable it is. Okay. So this building here that we can see behind us, we will eventually turn it into our homesteading school. So that will be like a program that we run every year. But out the back here, which we'll go and have a look in a minute, is the garden aspect, the demonstration garden.
Okay, it's a demonstration garden. So I just want to clarify that the idea about the homesteading is that where basically people buy a property or live on their property, and they might be trying to grow their own fruit and vegetables, and maybe have some small livestock, goats, or maybe a house cow, and you're trying to be self-sufficient as a family. Yeah. And then you may or you may not sort of sell that produce on. Is that the idea? That's the concept of homesteading?
Yeah. Ultimately, what we want to do is we want to give people the confidence. Like some people who move on to blocks of land, they're still stuck in this idea that they've just got to mow the whole place, and they don't have the skill sets to know how to do that whole thing. They don't even know how to put a garden in, let alone know that they can start producing and making money out of that garden. So what we're trying to do with the Homesteading School is take in everyone at every level and allow them to move through a curriculum or a process over the 12 months that we run it, where we go deep into each of the subjects that have to do with homesteading. So we might have guest speakers come in and speak on a certain subject, or do a workshop on a certain subject, and people can kind of step in and step out according to what they're feeling like they really want to get into at that particular time. So the Homesteading School is for people who have bought a block of land or are thinking, I would love to buy a block of land and get into this sort of thing, and for all levels of wherever they're at on that level, on that process. And we don't expect people to be necessarily saying, oh, I want to make big dollars out of my farm at the end of this. But what we want to do, because we find that the mindset in our region is not so much that people feel confident that they do it, but that they don't feel confident that they can do that. So we're trying to open the people's minds up to the ideas of what's possible.
That it's possible.
That's right. Yeah. And you know, like any good business, you know, you layer multiple functions on your business to make it more viable. And it's the same on a farm. You know, some people might be limited in their mind and saying, oh, I can only grow these herbs here. But then we could say, well, why don't you talk to your neighbor who's got butter and get the herbs and put them together and make herb butter. So it's this idea of like, and another aspect is getting people together so that they can share their ideas and learn from each other, because we don't feel like we have all the answers, but we feel like together you can find the answers. So essentially it's like kind of what you guys are doing, but it's more of like a school and a building where people come in and consume that product or consume that process in order to build their confidence up together.
I can really see how useful that would be. It's about the sharing the knowledge to get the confidence, because so many people have that idea that, oh, I'd love to be able to live like that, but there's this big gap between that and then actually doing it. And so many of us have had that disconnect because we haven't grown up on the land, or our parents haven't been living like that anymore. Perhaps grandparents or great-grandparents did, but there's this disconnect.
That's exactly right.
And so actually to have that information about how can I just be more self-sufficient on my property? Like, is it possible? And people are doing it. So the idea of sharing information is wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that with that as well, once again, people being together is the greatest strength of that is as you fail, because you will fail, you'll have somebody go together with you and go, I failed in this area, I feel really down about this. And then that person goes, well, I had that experience last year and this is how I fixed that problem. And then together you find a solution. That's how farming's always been done.
Yeah.
You know, people sharing and
sharing ideas. So it's
failing
more, it's
and
the
sharing.
community, it's the building community.
Absolutely. We, like I said, we don't feel like we have all the answers, but we feel like collectively there's this wealth of knowledge in our community already.
Yes.
And essentially what we're doing is we're creating the systems and the frameworks to connect people
to
together.
bring people together.
In a place that they enjoy being, you know, in a way that they enjoy being there. So once again, starting with the cafe, people are connected in together and their ideas are going and they're drinking coffee and it's stimulating their minds, and so it's sort of all of it is revolved around connecting people, and once they're connected they find their own solutions.
It sounds amazing. I'm feeling inspired. I love this sort of thing. I would love to do a little bit of a wander through.
Sure, absolutely.
Now I know that you said to me earlier, this is just beginning stages. It will become, well, a demonstration garden eventually, but it's early days. So we'll have a wander through and let's end up in the back corner where I know it's nice and shaded.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's go through here. What are some of the things you've got growing here?
So we based this design, you can't really see it from where we're standing here, but it's, are you familiar with the term mandala?
Yes.
A mandala, so like a mandala is basically a circle with like a wagon wheel with spokes coming off the wheel, the center of the wheel. So each wedge, so to speak, of this garden has a different fruit tree growing in it. So we've got, just to say, we've got olives, avocados, we've got kaffir lime, then it goes around to there's herbs, mandarin and a lemon tree, and a dragon fruit in the middle. Oh, there's a fig, what is it called? The feijoa? Feijoa fig? Yeah.
Did you plant all of this?
No, actually a friend of mine built this garden, so Cherie, I have to give her credit for that. So yeah, we came up with the idea together, but she's the one who executed it. So,
oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
I love a mandala design at any time, but in a garden, that's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's make our way through. Yeah, the sun's hot here. It's even hotter than it is in Sanford. Janine, do you want to just get a little shot here of some bananas? And this is a nice little shady corner. Looks like this might house some chickens one day.
Yes.
I imagine it'll be part of your permaculture design.
Definitely. Well, you may not be able to see on the camera, but this is actually quite a small backyard. I'd say it'd probably be about less than 800 square meters, I'd say. And what we really wanted to show people was that you can grow a lot of food in a really small space. This garden here provides over the year a consistent flow for a family and a household of fresh food coming in. And it's very low maintenance. Like I said to you before, I haven't really been in here to maintain it that much, but it does its own thing. And that's, once again, it's a permaculture design. So the beauty of permaculture is that a lot of it's about just setting it up, initially the hard work, and then it sort of matures and maintains its own integrity. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you have some advice for other people in other areas that there might be other rural areas like yours, or you know, how would you go about setting up something like this? For me, well, I guess what I'm taking from, you know, we've been chatting for hours before we started to film, but it seems to me that you're really, you and Philly and the team around you are creating like a scaffolding where you're able to, based on that, all of these other opportunities arising for people. And it started with a physical space with a cafe, and then it's extended to include a number of different functions. So you've got the cafe, then you've got the trade, the trade area every 2 weeks, and you also mentioned that I haven't mentioned on camera. That's okay. we this happens all the time. We get all the noise. dinner nights or something. What did you say they were?
Well, we have seasonal feast nights.
Seasonal feast nights.
And
what
then
are they?
so every season, summer, winter, spring, we have all of us come together, and all the growers, all the producers, we come together and have a big feast.
Oh, fantastic.
And usually there's alcohol involved, which is okay. Like, you got to celebrate.
Yeah.
So, but we have our Grow Your Garden nights, which are nights where we interview people and get a bit more in depth and pick people's brains about how they're growing their gardens.
Oh, I like that idea.
Yes.
That's great.
And then we do farm tours as well. It's just like layer upon layer of exposing each other to each other and to each other's ideas. So I think that format can take any sort of, it's like this garden, right? This mandala garden. In each wedge, you can plant any type of tree. It's up to your own imagination, but it's like, what is the needs? And I think that would be the question I would ask myself in my community. What do people really want? What are they craving? What do I want? What do I want to see here? And like I said at the start, my husband and I, we wanted somewhere where we could go and drink really nice coffee. Simple as that. But we also wanted to create a space where people could reconnect with each other and start establishing some of those traditional village type ways of being connected and interdependent on each other for our needs, not just our physical edible food needs, but also our psychological, emotional needs, And I think that once again, creating a space that's attractive and that people are coming together on common terms for a reason. Usually with food involved, like drinking and food, like whether it's good coffee or nice alcohol, like home brewed stuff or whatever, and then nice meals. That's a really good place. That was something really attractive.
Place.
Yes, absolutely. That's right. Create something beautiful where people want to be there, and central for everyone. And then you can kind of just add on to that what you feel like
what your particular community needs.
Right. That's right, yeah.
Well, you're doing really great things here, and I'd love to stay connected. I'm so pleased that you're following our Edible Garden Trail and that we could make this connection with you.
Absolutely.
And we'd love to stay in touch and see how you continue to grow this over the years to come. And I hope that other people will be inspired. I'd love to think about how we could do this in our area in Sanford. We have a lot of small-scale farmers. We have a lot of people who are interested in growing in their backyards. But the idea that we can just keep building on this, or having a space, and that we keep supporting each other, the more discussions like this, the more we can build community and we grow together, which is one of the things we often say on the show. We grow together. But I just love how you're really supporting people here to do that. So congratulations on all of you have set up.
You.
And good luck with the Homesteading School when it starts.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Yep.
So please keep following us on the Samford Edible Garden Trail as we feature gardens in our local area in Sanford, and now increasingly we're going on road trips. And as I said, this is the furthest we've been. This is the first time we've hopped on a plane, but for the trail, that is. And but it's just really wonderful for us to keep building this community across southeast Queensland and find out what other people are doing, and just continue to share this information. Because every time we share it, we get ideas that, I could do that, or maybe we could do that here, and that's what it's all about. So thanks very much, and we'll catch you at the next garden. Bye bye.